Hey, what is up everyone? So in today's video, I want to talk about something that was pretty interesting that I just saw happen on the Insider forums, where one of the upcoming voyages that are supposed to be releasing with Season 17 just got deleted. It's kind of crazy that, the limited content that we were getting for Season 17 is getting cut right before launch when it's already finished. But we're going to dive into it for this video and talk about what was this voyage that got cut, why did it happen, and what was the voyage even going to be. And then maybe we'll talk a little bit more about how this change doesn't really fix the problem with the Smugglers League coming into Season 17. So, if you saw in the Insider program, there's this recent post about the road to launch, and Season 17 is only about like 2 weeks away. I think it's like August 14th. I can check to see. Yeah, I think it's like August 14th is when it's releasing. So that's only, less than 2 weeks away. So they're pretty close, and it's pretty crazy to make this kind of change kind of last minute after it's been developed and tested and stuff like that. In this post, you can go in a little bit more detail. They talk about how they've, heard the feedback about Season 17. I think it's a lot of BS from them that they're trying to kind of just save face. They basically said that it was too late for them to take any feedback about Season 17 and, basically the lack of content for the start of the season. It's all reskin stuff. And they say they didn't know that, going into it, and that, by the time they got the feedback, it was too late. My thought on that is, you've heard this feedback back in Season 15, when everyone was talking about all the reskin content there, and there wasn't really much new added to the game. So, that's a lot of BS for Season 17, but that's not really what the focus of this video is. The focus of this video is talking about this Smuggler's Run voyage that just got removed. So first, before I talk about why they got rid of it, let's actually talk about what the Smuggler's Run voyage was. So with Season 17, there's going to be 2 new voyages. Now there's only 1 new voyage, and one of them was going to be the Smuggler's Run. So for this voyage, you would be requested to meet with one of the 6 smugglers that are in their hideouts, and then you would travel to the intended island and navigate through caves to find where they've created their makeshift camp. You collect 3 items from them: a black powder barrel, wood-framed painting, and rum crate. The items themselves have an etching where you can read them by interacting with them, and yeah, basically just gives you clues. It's basically similar to the merchant cargo voyages that we've had before, just with different items. The destination will be one of the Smuggler League representatives on one of the other islands, so basically you're going between the 6 different hideouts. You must sail to the correct island, find the correct smuggler, and hand it in all 3 pieces to complete the voyage. And the main challenge with this voyage is that one of the items that you're carrying is extremely explosive and extremely fragile, so you must protect them at all costs. Basically, you just don't want to get into any PvP fight during this voyage. And then to make it more complicated, Phantoms have become aware of the Smuggler's Run routes and want the loot for themselves, so you'll have to fight swarms of them in ways as you try to navigate the islands where you are collecting and smuggling the goods. While the voyage doesn't sound terrible, it does sound eerily familiar to many other voyages that we've had in the past, most specifically the cargo run voyages. The cargo run voyages, and even the trade route voyages that we have, which aren't actually voyages, they're just kind of a feature in the game, is just taking stuff from one merchant to another merchant. This is basically the exact same thing, but it's more dangerous and more fragile type of goods. We're going to get into it a little bit more. I think some of the comments on the other posts that we're going to be looking at kind of reflect the same opinion that I have. They could have just made these type of voyages basically a higher level version of the cargo run voyages. So it'd be something that not everyone could do when they first started the game, but it'd be something like once you get past level 50, maybe even level 100, since we're, have 500 levels for Merchants Alliance, you can make it so that, once you get past level 100, you unlock a new, way more valuable, way more dangerous cargo run voyage, which would be this Smuggler's Run. There's also another voyage that we're getting, which is still staying in the game, and we'll talk about why they chose this one over the other one, and why didn't they just keep both. But this Smuggler's Route Run, the capital Smuggler Run is always between the same 2 smuggler hideouts locations. The route itself between the 2 is marked on the map table for everyone to always see with an etched line. So I know a lot of people have been upset about this with it being marked on the map, and they say that the route would change every season. So essentially it's going to be the same thing for all of Season 17, where it will go between, let's say Wanderer's Refuge and Kraken's Falls. I don't remember all the different smugglers locations yet, but let's just say it's going between those two for the entire season. Basically, the problem that people are facing is that, well, if you're doing this voyage, everyone knows where you're going. In my opinion, though, I don't think that's as big of a problem if it's implemented correctly, and I haven't looked fully at how it's implemented. If it's showing up like a world event and like, it's kind of similar to Skull Siren Song where everyone can see it on their map table at all the time, then maybe that would be a problem if you actually know that people are doing the voyage. But if you don't know people are doing the voyage, or you're not sure that people are doing the voyage, then there's not too much reason to, I think, get upset about this. It reminds me a lot of the Run of Thieves Haven, where the Run of Thieves Haven was a set route the entire time. You basically went from Thieves Haven to another island, Thieves Haven to another island, and then finish at Thieves Haven. So it's not a big deal, I don't think. I think it actually was pretty fun when those Thieves Haven runs were in the game because it actually was predictable. So the people that were doing it took the risk of trying to get the more valuable loot and have a shorter area to sail around in, so it made it a little bit faster to complete. But then the people that wanted to steal it kind of had an idea of what order they would be doing stuff in, so you could kind of, go and wait for them at whatever island. So I always liked the Run of Thieves Haven, even though I didn't do it too often. So I could see that working out well for this voyage, but I know a lot of people aren't upset with it. So then they say the voyage plays out the same as the Pirates Smugglers run, so the same thing we just talked about earlier. However, it has some key differences. The three items are highly valuable, so basically it's just more valuable than the one we got here. These are kind of lower tier treasure items. Sure. Uh, every player out on this voyage will be intercepting one another and stealing each other's loot. Players who aren't on the voyage know where the route is, so could be lying in wait. Skeleton ships are aware of the route and will be patrolling and attacking any player traveling between those two hideouts. This whole part about, everyone is on the same route, uh, every player that is on this voyage will be intercepting one another. I guess what they mean by that is that since it's the same route, everyone would be around each other so you can steal from one another, but it's not necessarily saying that you're fighting for the same exact treasure. And so I'm not exactly sure, but that's not exactly what this video is about. I just kind of wanted to give an overview of what the two voyages that we had in the game were, and then talk about what the changes. So the changes, we're getting rid of this Smuggler's Run voyage, and the only one we're keeping is this Smuggler's Route Run. Now, I do think this Smuggler's Route Run is probably the better one, but, they're very similar to each other. I wouldn't even call these two separate voyages. I would say that this is just the better version of this one. So probably was a good reason to get rid of it, to be honest, but let's see what their exact reason is. And I'd rather, because they have a good amount that they went into this, I'm not going to summarize it. I'm just going to kind of read exactly what they said, and then we'll discuss about it after. So, Smuggler's Run feedback. One area, however, that we considered critical and are going to make a change following your feedback is with our Smuggler's Run voyage. Act 1 originally brought 2 on-demand voyages to the quest table for the Smugglers League with the goal of providing a clear path for players to jump into smuggling gameplay along with more emergent experiences arriving in the season. The Smuggler's Run route requires players to take on the role of a smuggler to sneak goods through a treacherous highway that all can see on the map. Building on a run archetype we've seen received well in the past with voyages like the Thieves Haven run, these voyages deliver that risk versus reward gameplay of meeting other crews along the route and using all their wits, tools, and tactics at their disposal. This voyage inherently feels like a smuggling experience with those unpredictable encounters with other crews during the voyage, bringing the feel of being a smuggler in Season 17. The base Smuggler's Run, however, is not delivering that feeling of being a smuggler. As an experience designed more for a single crew, it doesn't meaningfully elevate the voyage past the feeling of a cargo run, and the limited gameplay additions we've added haven't addressed the root of your feedback. As we approach the launch of Act 1, we're unable to add meaningful sneaking gameplay in the time we have remaining, and as a result, this Smuggler's Run voyage simply isn't hitting the mark for an on-demand experience that we are happy with being surfaced on the quest table, and your feedback clearly reflects that. We've therefore made the decision to remove the Smuggler's Run voyage from the quest table and instead focus players on the Smuggler's Route Run, being the sole on-demand smuggling voyage arriving in Act 1. We know that this decision isn't without impact though, as the inherent risk of the Smuggler's Run route may feel too high threat for all players. However, Smuggler's Run style experience can be found emergently when discovering washed up bottles in Season 17, still providing a lucrative reward for those that find them. We find this emergent experience is more aligned to that of other experiences players can discover from Message in the Bottles, and feels much more at home here compared to the type, quality, and depth of the experience we strive to provide through the quest table on demand. With this emergent voyage, along with all the other areas of the experience in Act 1 providing options for lower risk ways of play, we hope players will still find something that they connect with as we roll out Smuggler's Tide over the next few months. And that basically covers everything that you need to know about this Smuggler's Run change. So, I know a lot of people don't like the idea that content is being cut, and technically this isn't fully cut, it's still in the game through the emergent encounters that we talked about, but it is cut from the quest table and being on demand. Personally, I feel like this was the right decision because, like we looked at the Voyage, they're basically the exact same Voyage. The one that they kept seems like the one that should be the one that they're highlighting as this Smuggler's Voyage, and the other one was very much too similar to a cargo run voyage. At least with the Smuggler's route run that we have that's staying in the game, it is a lot more unique compared to the cargo run voyages, and I think it is harkening back to those Run of Thieves Haven voyages that we had in the past. So I think people would actually like those. I don't see people doing this too often, to be honest. Maybe they will do it for a little while, but I don't really see it being that big of a deal. I honestly think this might be better to do as something like you get like this voyage once a month or something, and you can do it throughout the whole month. Kind of similar to we had certain voyages like that from the bilge rats in the past. I don't know how people are going to receive this voyage, but I think we should talk about in a broader aspect the problem with the whole Smugglers League. So they talk about in this post that basically the original voyage wasn't really meeting that sneaky gameplay that they were trying to strive for. But I also don't think that the sneaky gameplay that they should be striving for is seen in the other voyage or anything that they're adding in season 17. If you need a refresher on what they're adding for season 17, I'll leave a link to the live stream we did last week that kind of went in depth about all the additions that are coming with that season. But in terms of talking about the Smugglers League, personally, when we first heard the announcement of the Smugglers League, I always thought that it should be kind of like the PvP equivalent of Reaper's Hideout, but for sneaky gameplay. Let Reaper's Hideout be for the people that are a little bit more bold, the ones that are, showcasing that they're on the seas, that they're a giant threat, that they're going after people directly. And then let the Smugglers League be for the PvP side of people that like to go tuck, the people that like to go and sneak around, maybe have like kegs waiting for someone, the ones that are hiding at outposts, they're ready to steal the treasure, that kind of gameplay. And you could have had both sides basically be supported and not have the people that are sneaking around relying only on Reapers to be the PvP faction. So they should have made the Smugglers League kind of like the flip side of Reapers, but that's not what we got here. So the Smugglers League really ended up being just more of cargo runs. Even with this, one new voyage, it's not really that significant. Even they say it here. This is basically just a reskin of voyages that we've had in the past. It's not really that unique or different. They're taking elements of different things, and sometimes taking different combinations of stuff that already exist can make something new and engaging. So I think having the skeleton ships that they're talking about is a good idea. That's pretty cool, and that's going to be interesting if it's actually done well. I could see a situation where it'd be really cool to have like many skeleton ships all along the route that are patrolling, and then maybe even have like some fog that's coming in, and you're trying to like sail through this treacherous pathway where you can't really see in front of you, and you have the skeleton ships attacking you and stuff, and you're trying to protect it so you don't get hit by any of these things. That would all be really cool. I could also see a situation where people try this once, have their ship explode because a skeleton ship spawns right on them, and then they get pissed off and they never want to do it again. There's multiple ways that this could work. I am interested to see how people react to it, but in terms of like being a sneaky gameplay that they're talking about and what the smugglers are supposed to be, from what they say here, they basically sound like they're agreeing with me in terms of like what the smugglers' place should be in Sea of Thieves, but the gameplay that they're introducing is not reflecting that. Season 17, in my opinion, if they wanted to go with the Smugglers League, and I don't know if exactly this was the right update to do in general, I talked about in another video what I would have liked to see for Season 17 or Season 18. But if we were already down the route of doing the smugglers, it should have been an expansion of what we got with Season 14. So Season 14 was the sneaking around mischief update, and it added a lot of new tools to the game, but it had no activities to do with those tools. This should have been an expansion on that, give a new faction for this sneaking type of gameplay, maybe add a new type of world event similar to the treasuries and the sea forts, where it's like a temple that you could either sneak through and try to steal the treasure inside, or maybe you could go full force to allow different types of play styles to work with it, and that could be replayable. Could also be, a great place to have PvP interactions and fight against. And I'm not even against having this route voyage in here. I think it will be interesting to do. I think I'll enjoy trying to steal from it, honestly, if it's, something that's worth trying to steal from. But I do come back to the point that this does not fulfill my dream of having like a sneaky type of update for being a smuggler. This doesn't really feel like that. This just feels like an expansion to the Merchants Alliance. I just wanted to kind of hop in here and make a quick video on this because I saw it yesterday and I thought it was pretty interesting, and it's something that I think a lot of people are upset about. So let me know in the comments below, what do you think about this change? Do you think it was the right change? And do you think that the current Voyage that we're keeping in the game fulfills the sneaking gameplay that they are trying to strive for? I don't think it does. But let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. But if you enjoyed this video, it'd be great if a like and subscribe. And until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Bye, y'all.